the best coaches in the game. We really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block. Helmets, casket is God. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, eighth place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision. We got too many. Tick. Oh man, shit. They got us fucked up. Army, regroup. We pledge always to have that edge. We don't fire warning shots. Competition just drop. We locked and loaded before lock. Whatever the time, yeah. Do you even correlate?
Being the best requires a willingness to outwork your competition. There's always someone smarter, faster, sharper, more naturally gifted to come around.
What is up? This is Fantasy Fling with DFS Army doing another cash lineup review. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my lineup this week. It was a profitable week for me overall, meaning I did, I made money and really because I did well in GPPs, but I did not hit the cash line, which it kind of flipped because pretty much all day I was making money in cash games, was smashing the cash line because I went with Trevor Lawrence, who did well. But then the Buffalo and Philly game happened, and both Hurts and Josh Allen pretty much erupted. So it ended up missing the cash line at the end when it was all said and done by about 4 points. But I had a lot of Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts lineups in tournaments and almost had several takedowns. So it ended up being a good day in GPPs, which I certainly will take that. Cash is where you're going to make your bread and butter, but miss the cash line. And, really what we're going to see, kind of the one thing that stood out for me was, I decided to play Trevor Lawrence because I really thought most of the field would be playing him. So this was a $25 single entry double up. And, I saw it kind of across the industry. Projections, ownership projections, everyone was just a little bit off. So we had... In fact, we'll take a look at this real quick. So we had Trevor Lawrence as the highest owned quarterback, and then Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield, and Josh Allen. And actually, Josh Allen ended up being the highest owned quarterback in the single entry double up. So, almost always these projections are very accurate. But like I said, it was a little bit inaccurate on the slate. And it wasn't a DFS Army thing. It was across the industry. Nobody really knew what to do. There was a lot of crazy chalk at running back, as we're going to get into, and also at quarterback, because, we didn't quite have it right. But, that's how these things go. Because my process is I'm going to use the chalkboard as kind of a safety net. And, it's going to lead me the right direction most weeks. It's going to be profitable. I think we're 11-3 right now for or 9-3 for, on the profit for the season. So I had for cash games. So Lawrence was the top owned guy for me, who I thought would be a top owned guy. He still was pretty high owned, almost a fourth of the field had him. And then Jonathan Taylor was the guy that, even though, we're going to look at the chalkboard real quick, he was projecting as a highest owned guy. So we were pretty accurate on that. About 33% we were seeing him. Well, he ended up being 58%. So even though it was a tough matchup, he has beat these matchups before. So he got 21 points. So love the play. Derrick Henry was a core play for me, as we're going to see on my cheat sheet. 20 points. It just made so much sense. There's a smash spot going against Carolina that's a run funnel. You can't really throw on them because of the zone defense they play. No one has been able to throw on them. So, you're going to run, and they can easily be ran on, and that's what Derrick Henry did. Justin Watson was a guy that was popping on the chalkboard. He was top 5, top 7, something like that. And $3,000. So he was a great punt so that you could fit in some of these studs. The Jonathan Taylor, the Derrick Henry, the AJ Brown. So he was a pay down option for me. Love Tank Dell. He ended up being very high owned again, obviously, in that great game environment of Houston and Jacksonville that we were all targeting. So I love Dell with the amount of target share he had seen. It was something like 30%. And then, I needed another guy, another value guy to squeeze in there. And Douglas, with the target share that he had seen, like 8-10 targets the past couple games before that, thought he was a good play. And he ended up, really getting there with double-digit points. Njoku, great matchup against Denver. And, Njoku just kind of screwed me overall on the slate because I had a 5-leg parlay anytime touchdown score. He was the last leg. He dropped a touchdown pass. So that parlay would have hit. It was like plus 6,800. So I think $10 would have been $650 payout almost. And also I would have hit the cash line if he had caught that touchdown and didn't drop it. So, I'm just pissed at Njoku at this point. But, it's still pretty good play. 11 points for a tight end. That's about all you can ask going against Denver. They can be pretty bad against the tight end. So that's a matchup to target. And then A.J. Brown, he kind of missed this one. He was a core play for me because I thought this was just a really good bounce back spot, great game environment. Kind of the problem is neither Diggs nor A.J. Brown had a smash game. It was really, a lot of it was just Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts running the ball, with a lot of their production. So he didn't get there. And, this is kind of where it was a little bit wrong too, because we had him projected as like the third highest owned wide receiver. So, these things happen. Like I said, the industry was just off in general. And, he ended up being contrarian. So that ended up being quite a terrible play. So as we'll see, though, Jalen Hurts ended up being 30% owned. So this was a cash line. I was really, 4 points off, pretty close. A very similar lineup, except it's as opposed to A.J. Brown, had Pacheco. I think I actually did better off than this lineup overall as far as a lot of the decisions I made. But Jalen Hurts to Trevor Lawrence, that's 8 points right there. So that certainly was the difference between the two lineups that I just showed that one in mine. So let's find some Josh Allen lineups. So Josh Allen looks like he was actually much higher owned in this contest than I thought. When I was first looking, I thought he was actually about 30% owned. So I guess it was just Jalen Hurts who actually ended up being the highest owned guy at 30%. So Allen ended up being the third most owned quarterback with Hurts first and then Trevor Lawrence second. So, that's something you kind of want to use as a safety net is that chalkboard. And most weeks, this is going to lead you the right way. So this exact scenario does not happen where you think Trevor Lawrence is going to be the highest owned guy. And then, it ends up being Jalen Hurts. And you're like, man, I played Trevor Lawrence because I thought he was going to be higher owned. And there was that safety in the chalk. Even though I liked Jalen Hurts better, I liked the overall lineup of Trevor Lawrence better. And Trevor Lawrence having that higher ownership, I was willing to eat that chalk. Sometimes when you're just following the chalk, it will lead you to the wrong direction because, these things are their projections. They're not necessarily written in stone. This guy's going to be this owned. So something to keep in mind. I think that's one thing I will certainly take away from this going forward is probably just better off to play the guy who has the higher floor in Jalen Hurts versus Trevor Lawrence. So a little mistake there on my part. But like I said, with Jonathan Taylor, with Isaiah Pacheco, these were guys that I had on my sheet because they were the highest owned. And, Pacheco had a good matchup. Derrick Henry had a good matchup. So Ramondre Stevenson, these were all guys that, we're really on. And Rachaad White as well. He had a much better matchup than Jonathan Taylor in that same game. So I liked Rachaad White. Once the news came out that he was going to be fine with his knee, we were all in on Rachaad White as well as a cash play. And then at the wide receiver, this is kind of where I was saying, I really thought A.J. Brown would be higher owned. We had him as fourth, 15%. So in this situation, I think most of the field was just last, day or two, just kind of got scared off of A.J. Brown in this matchup. And, for good reason. He didn't deliver 14 points. He got the touchdown, but the targets weren't there. So it's very concerning. He's probably going to be out of cash consideration for a while until we see that target share go back up. But, if you went to Pittman, you went to Dell, you did pretty well in cash. Like I said, here's kind of where we nailed the Justin Watson and Demario Douglas ownership projections. We thought they would be, the highest owned value plays, and they ended up being that. So got that right. And, at tight end, like I said, I liked Njoku, but the guys were really McBride, Kincaid, and Ingram and Kelsey that were getting the most ownership there, with McBride kind of running away with it. On my cheat sheet, and, since we're here, we did have some DFS Army guys that did things the right way this week. So Brandon Mill, shout out to Brandon. I'm Brandon myself, so it's a great name. It's fantastic. He sent this lineup to me. He DMs me a lot and kind of asked me, what I think of his lineup. So, love to see him smash and cash this week. He did really well. Trevor Lawrence. So you could have got there with Trevor Lawrence, but you had to, play the right three backs, right, as he did in this situation. Ramondre Stevenson, Derrick Henry, and then played Rachaad White. Did a little better at defense, too, with the Chiefs. I think I only had 1 point for my defense. And then play Pittman. So, that was a great play. And, for the wide receivers, I think that made the biggest difference for him getting 152 points there. So Dell, Pittman, and Douglas, he did not do the 8K, 9K wide receiver. Just got these guys, these middling, 5 to 7K wide receivers, and did very well with these guys. And, Derrick Henry in a great spot, Ramondre Stevenson and Rachaad White in a great spot. So he just played all the guys that were in great spots. So good on him. And Thomas D.Y. So he sends me basically wins every single week. And, his contest, Jalen Hurts was 26% owned. So a little different than the contest that I was in. But Derrick Henry, Ramondre Stevenson, Tank Dell, Pittman, Watson, Njoku, and Kirk. So very good cash lineup. Falcons D, just smashed cash. So really good. Probably won like 90% of his head-to-head. So, we did have a lot of the good cash plays on the sheet. So, it was really just if you pick Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen, you probably smashed in cash this week. If you got Trevor Lawrence, you certainly still got there if you hit on the right running backs. And running backs was really the tricky part this week. So I identified Derrick Henry as a core play. Really nailed that one. Pacheco, I loved him as well. Rachaad White, all these guys would have got there for you if you played them in cash. And then, AJ Brown, that was the disappointment for me. That was a core play. Didn't get there. At least he didn't bomb, right? At least he didn't get a 2. He got 14 points. Could have been a lot worse. But I love Tank Dell, Pittman, Kirk, Douglas, Watson. These were the value guys that you needed to piece together that lineup. And then, I always look for the cheaper tight end options. So Njoku, I think, did pretty well, 11 points at 4,100. You'll take that. And then you need the Falcons DST at 2,900. So that was really it to smash cash games this week. But that's gonna do it for this week in review. Thank you all for joining me. And by the way, this is the last day for the Black Friday Cyber Monday deal. So right now, if you guys aren't subscribed, you're watching the channel, you want to subscribe, you see all the wins that we have every week across all our shows, cash games, of course. You'll be profitable just by using the tools, the chalkboard, the cheat sheets, fantasy points per dollar, and the domination station, all those things. But, also winning the tournaments, as we do a lot of showdowns and main slate, takedowns, all across all sports. You can do the VIP membership right now. So you get 50% off for your first month. So use BF 2023. This is the last day for that. So thank you for watching. Best of luck this coming week. I will see you all Monday for another week in review.